Today I'm here to review The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 2, entitled Strangers. Now, if you enjoy The Walking Dead, please feel free to subscribe right here for more Walking Dead related videos. A few things to note for this episode. Gareth has more facial hair in his face now. This confirms that a few months have passed since he last saw Rick. Also remember, Michonne never got her sword back from terminus. She even forgot she didn't have it anymore because in this episode she tried to use it to kill a zombie, but she forgot she didn't have it. It's revealed that Gareth has her sword. Gareth used it to cut off Bob's leg. If you look at Bob's leg, you can tell it's a clean cut, and it only took one good swing to remove his leg. Father Gabriel. Father Gabriel ends up going to a food banquet with Rick, or a food bank with Rick. And he ends up going in there, and he ends up seeing one of his old church members that used to attend his church. Now it's revealed that he knew this woman because at the end of episode 2, titled Strangers, we see him with a picture in his hand, and we see Gabriel in the picture, and we see the white Caucasian female in the picture. The guy Martin is still alive, even after Tyreese thought he had killed him. Martin was the one who had knocked Bob unconscious outside of Father Gabriel's church. And we also see a mark on the tree, which confirms my theory was right. Gareth and his people put a mark on the tree so people could follow the marks. So they wouldn't have to go out and look for their prey. Or Bob randomly end up being by that tree when Martin came and knocked him out. Now, the group meets and saves Father Gabriel from zombies. And Gabriel was talking to Rick, and he was telling Rick that, okay, he believes in God, but he also tells Rick that he's a sinner. He sins every day. And he goes on to say that I'm a sinner, but I confess my sins to God. I'm not going to confess my sins to a whole bunch of strangers that I don't know. Now, if you know Rick, you would know Rick. Well, if you know Rick, you know that he doesn't believe in God, or it's questionable if Rick believes in God. Because in The Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 1, titled What Lies Ahead, I'm going to quote directly what Rick said when Rick had ran into that church to check. When Rick had went into the church. Rick said, "I don't know. You're looking at me with what? Sadness? Scorn? Pity? Love? Maybe it's just indifference. I guess you already know I'm not much of a believer. I chose to put my faith elsewhere. My family, mostly, my friends, my job, and the thing." And then he says the thing, and then he says we, but then he stops, and then he says the thing we. I could use a little something to keep us going, some kind of acknowledgement, some indication of me doing the right thing. You don't know how hard it is to know that. And then he looks at the guy's statue, and then he says, well, maybe you do. So again, when he was talking to God, or at least he thought he was, he told God, I chose to put my faith elsewhere. My family mostly, my friends, and my job. Now in this episode, we end up seeing the same car, or not the same car, but a car that have the same medicine symbol embedded on the windows. So it's multiple cars that have this. It's multiple cars that have this medicine symbol embedded on the windows. Daryl and Carol end up seeing the same car. So now Daryl decides to go look for Beth, because he tell Carol that he tells Carol that that's one of the same cars that Beth had got taken in. Also in this episode, Bob ends up getting bit when he ends up making a run with Rick and the rest of the group and Father Gabriel at 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 the food bank. He ends up getting bit by a zombie, and Bob ends up going off into the woods to die, just like his counterpart. Well, not even his counterpart, just like Dale did in the comic book when Dale had got bitten for a second time. He ended up going up to into the woods to get to turn and die, but the hunters end up catching him. Same thing happened with Bob. Hunters ends up catching him. Also in this episode, forgiveness is very strong, and also embracing suffering is very strong, because I stated this in the past. In order to be human, and what I mean by this, I mean mentally, not physically, because physically we are human beings. I mean mentally. In order to be human, you have to embrace suffering, because if you don't embrace suffering, that means you're running away from what makes you human, point blank, period. You have to do that. And I see Carol running away from it, but also at the same time, Carol don't like to think about what she did when she killed Karen and David. And even Tyreese tell her that, I told everybody about what you did and they forgive you. They know Carol is a very valuable asset to the group, and they know she's very useful. So they're going to keep her around and everybody forgive her. Even Rick forgave Tara because he knew Tara wasn't that type of person. He knew Tara had fear in her when she came to the prison with the governor to attack the prison. Because we see Rick forgave Tara. Tara even gave Rick a fist bump in the episode, and it was so amazing, so breathtaking. I love the forgiveness in this episode. And in Beth, not Beth, but Daryl, no, Glenn and Maggie, Tara go on the supply run, that type of stuff. And also in this episode, Carol was actually she was actually planning on leaving the group, but now her plans has changed because now they're looking for Beth. So that's pretty much everything that happened in this episode. We finally got to see Gabriel Church. And also we saw cloud marks on Gabriel's church. Cloud marks from humans. That showed that humans tried to get into his church, but he didn't allow, because you see cloud marks on it from fingernails. You also see writing on his church, and it says you will burn in hell. So that's what happened with this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed my quick review. Have a blessed day. God bless you all, and peace.